Hey guys, welcome back once again to episode number 51 of Bobcat Corner. This is your host, Stephen Vitz, coming back to you guys again, talking about college football. And until there are like new developments going on with the Ohio Bobcats in particular, we're gonna have to put that to the wayside for now. But for here, episode number 51, I want to get to talking about the hot topic going around college football, circles right now. The college football playoff format, the structure of it, and all the back and forth talk going on, which is something that, if you guys remember in episodes past, I have talked about it, discussed about not just the structure of the college football playoff, but about governance, but about leadership with these conferences. But before I get to that officially, I want to announce right now that STV Castle uh, is now officially live on Instagram. So, not live as in a video, but live as an active on Instagram. So, yes, in other words, I have an Instagram account, STV Castle. So, if you guys want to follow me there on Instagram, that'd be great. It's up to you guys if you want to follow me on Instagram for extra stuff for certain, like, maybe down the road, like little video clips of stuff relating to this channel here on YouTube. Um, don't be surprised if I don't add a lot of stuff to that Instagram account, but I will be providing like certain updates here and there on the Instagram account, posting on Instagram here and there. Um, I'm not one to like social media all that much, to be honest with you guys. Um, it's hard enough for me to keep track of everything social media related, whether it's here on YouTube or even on LinkedIn, the other platform I use. And so getting on Instagram, I'm thankful to have gotten on Instagram, by the way. Long story there, which I'll probably get to down the road. But yeah, I'm thankful to actually be on Instagram. So if you guys want to check out STV Castle, the Instagram page, there will be a link down below in the description box. And when you click on my channel, STV Castle, it'll be there in the main description of the channel. So there we go with that. But anyway, putting that aside, let's get right to the topic here of Bobcat Corner 51. And it has to go straight to the conversation involving which kind of structure model that the college football playoff should have. And I've already touched on this multiple times, especially in that infamous rant episode of mine back on episode number 39. If you guys have not seen that episode, please check that out because it's definitely one of the most candid episodes I've ever done on Bobcat Corner. It's not even a casual kind of presentation there. It's just me being very blunt. The most candid I've ever been. I've had opinions about college football topics for a long time, but that was like the most fired up that I was. Episode number 39. So just as a reference, I'm going to link that again in the description box so you guys can go back to episode number 39 and listen to that. And you may be surprised by how some of those things I've talked about then are kind of developing into what you're seeing now, which I find kind of funny, to be honest with you. But this episode right here, this is not a rant episode, but this is something that I do want to be upfront and honest about concerning this topic. Greg Sankey, SEC Commissioner Greg Sankey. You know how I feel about him. I don't like him. I don't. Definitely an intelligent, uh, definitely an intelligent person, sharp businessman. He knows what he's doing. I'm not saying he doesn't know what he's doing, but he intentionally does these things. He intentionally says a lot of stuff that rubs people the wrong way. As I mentioned to Greg Flugar when I called in to one of his shows recently, he does this habitually. He does this like almost automatically, like a snap of a finger. He just does this. And I want to highlight this article in particular written by Bill Connolly of ESPN, which was brought to my attention by, there again, Greg Flugar. Shout out to him. Peek Around the Corner. That's one of the channels that I go to get my college football content to stay up to date about stuff. But anyway, Bill Connolly, he wrote an article recently about why there are a lot of reasons why the SEC probably shouldn't go to a 9-game schedule for their conference schedule. And when you read through that long article, it's pretty long. So give yourself some time. Give yourself some time when you read this article. When you read this article, you'll see what exactly Bill Connolly means. Ran a simulation. He ran a simulation of what would happen if the SEC Southeastern Conference actually did go to a 9-game schedule. How different would it be when it comes to the end results, win-loss records, things like that? And just to get to the meat and potatoes of it all, basically what the results were from his simulation, according to Bill Connolly, is that if this SEC stays at an 8-game schedule for their conference, they would average 6.2 SEC teams being eligible to make the college football playoff, would end up making the college football playoff on average 6.2. But if they went to a 9-game schedule, the SEC would only average 4.7 teams to make the college football playoff. So that's a difference of 1.5, a team and a half, so to speak. So that is a glaring difference right there. And there again, even with bowl eligibility, even though people are not really paying attention to bowl games these days, but bowl eligibility, that's also a key thing with all these conferences, even the big boys, even the power conferences. 13.4, 13.4 teams averaged from the SEC. 13.4 SEC teams on average would make a bowl game with an 8-game schedule. But if they went to a 9-game schedule, it would just go down to 11.4 teams. It's right there in the article if you read it, guys. So just certain numbers like that jump out at me. And it does make sense. In that context, it does make sense to me why there is now a sudden pause of why the SEC just has not, gone for it when it comes to switching from an 8-game to a 9-game schedule. Honestly, guys, on principle alone, the SEC should have gone to a 9-game schedule already on the surface. If you want to compare yourselves right down the line with the Big Ten, the other big boy of this group, the Big Ten has no problem scheduling 9 games for their conference, 9-game, conference schedule. And yet you, the SEC, you have such a big problem with going to a 9-game schedule because at the end of the day, wins and losses still matter, as they should. But according to those that run the SEC, not just Greg Sankey, but all the presidents and ADs and all the higher ups for all these schools that represent the SEC, they know how much damage it could cause if they were to go to a 9-game schedule. Because, yeah, you'd probably win more games, but you'd also run the risk of losing more games. That's why they won't do it. So, whether or not they do go to 9 games, in my opinion, who cares? But I'm finding it very fascinating. And what's more fascinating is how Greg Sankey himself, the SEC commissioner, how he is handling all this, how he's handling all this backlash, the initial backlash to the originally proposed 4+4 +2 +2 +1 +3 model that it seemed like it was going to go through. It seemed like a few weeks ago that was going to be the way everything was going to be for the college football playoff. But now we're having this backpedaling. We're having this all of a sudden, put the car in reverse, so to speak, and now you're backtracking. Now you're getting back to this, oh, we'll be okay with the 5+11 model. If that's what the SEC coaches are saying, that they're basically supporting a 5+11 model, just automatic qualifiers for just the conference champions, Power Four conferences and one G6 conference champion, and the rest of the field is at large. Now, this was just brought up for the last few days, and you can see how much momentum is developing when it comes to not just backlash, but just loaded opinions from all sides about this. And I'm just finding it funny. I'm not even in the mood to really go ranting like I did in episode 39. That's not even what I'm doing here. But I'm finding it funny in some way that now Greg Sankey, as he mentioned in this article written by Bill Connolly, I'm quoting here Greg Sankey himself. Bear with me. Here's the quote. This is wanting to understand the decisions we have to have better clarity. Yeah, let me repeat that again. Greg Sankey saying this. This is wanting to understand the decisions. We have to have better clarity on the criteria that inform inform those decisions. Now, I'm giving that a certain pause, and I have to shake my head and I have to say, who in the heck are you kidding? Really, Greg Sankey, who in the heck are you kidding? I'm floored. I'm floored by how much is going on here with the gaslighting and with the backstage politics. And that's a term, by the way, you probably see me say that in posts, whether in chat rooms or in the comment sections. Backstage politics. What does that mean? Well, that's a term that was originally coined in the professional wrestling industry, but it rings true when it comes to stuff like this, college football, college sports as well. And I mention it freely here, backstage politics. I truly believe that things are going on behind the scenes, backstage, that obviously doesn't want to get leaked out to the public and obviously does not want to ruin the image of anybody involved. And when you have behind closed door meetings like these to discuss governance, to discuss the college football playoff, to discuss certain other matters like NIL, transfer portal, big topics like that, it's amazing what is actually said behind those closed doors. And a whole lot of it, you and I, you and I as college football fans, we're never going to hear about until probably like way after the fact. So there's no doubt in my mind that that's what's going on right now. Even as you hear, people like Greg Sankey and all these other commissioners are talking backstage politics. And this is the question that I want to pose to you guys right now. You can have certain opinions about which model that you want to have for the college football playoff going forward when we expand to 16 teams, whether you want to have your four automatic qualifiers for both the Big Ten and ACC, and then two each for the Big 12 and the ACC, and then the G6 only gets one, and then three at large, then three at large. You can have your opinions about that, and then you have the 5+11, and you're being forced basically to pick a side. It's like, okay, which model do you guys want? Do you want this model or do you want this model? But the question that I want to pose to you guys is this: does it really matter? And my response to that question would be this: no, it doesn't. No, it does not matter. Because if you read between the lines of what Greg Sankey has been saying, is that, yeah, sure, he supports the 5+11 model seemingly right now. It sounds like it anyway. But what it also means is that if you implement that, the 5+11 model, which honestly, if you ask me, I think that is the model that I personally would be more okay with, but it's also the interpretation of it. How does Greg Sankey interpret this 5+11 model? He interprets it way differently than I do. If you know about the backstage politics of college football right now, as if you guys are up to date as much as I am about this, you would know. You would know that Greg Sankey's interpretation of the 5+11 model is something that is clearly going to shift so much power to the SEC and Big Ten and nobody else. So then that's something that I just touched on back on episode 39. It's like it doesn't matter what playoff format we go with. It doesn't matter how many teams you expand the field by. Who is calling the shots? The Big Ten and the SEC. They're calling the shots. And by extension, their puppet masters, so to speak, ESPN and FOX, their media partners. They are all collectively calling the shots. And as long as they are calling the shots, then guess what? The internal the internal details of the college football playoff are not going to change. They're just not. So you can have your 5 plus 11 model, which in and of itself is fine. But if you do that, then you're putting it back into the hands of the College Football Playoff Selection Committee, which we've already talked about many times that they are basically bought and paid for by ESPN. ESPN runs the college football playoff, guys. They televise all these shows dedicated to the college football playoff for a reason because they own it. They own the rights to it. And only now that they're giving away some games here and there to other TV stations like TNT to broadcast other games. So Greg Sankey feels free to say that because he knows who's calling the shots. So I didn't want this to be just about Greg Sankey because it's easy to pile on top of whatever Greg Sankey says. And I don't trust him. I don't like him. But he is doing a job for the SEC. He is the SEC commissioner. He responds to all the presidents and the higher ups of SEC schools. That is his job. So I want you guys to keep that in mind. So does it really matter? No, it doesn't. If you read in between the lines of all this, no, it really doesn't matter. Until we get to a point where we don't have media partners like ESPN and Fox taking over everything and running everything, especially ESPN with the college football playoff. If we don't get to that point where we basically walk away from all this control from this sports media conglomerate, corporation, whatever you call it, alliance, nothing is truly going to change. And it's also easy to pick on the committee, the selection committee of the college football playoff. None of those people are qualified, by the way, in my opinion. None of those people are qualified to even be in that room to make any decision because they're biased, they're bought and paid for, they're supported by ESPN to begin with. So what do you think they're going to do at the end of the day? I'm just putting it out there. So, and I also find it funny, and I have to say this, and I also find it funny that Greg Sankey, when he was at a press conference at the spring meetings of the SEC recently, he was asked by Andy Staples, I believe. You guys may know him, Andy Staples, college football reporter. Um, he was asked certain questions by Andy Staples concerning what's good for the game of college football. And that quote from Greg Sankey really sticks out to me. And again, it kind of makes me laugh. Honestly, it does. Greg Sankey responded to that basically saying, I don't need to be lectured on what's good for the game of college football. Yeah, you don't need to be lectured on what's good for the game of college football, Greg Sankey. You have all this money flowing about. You have all this money running rampant throughout the SEC. You call all the shots. You have all the power. You're seeking as much power as you possibly can for your conference. And you want to get up there on your podium in the press conference and say that you don't want to be lectured on what's good for the game of college football. You are doing your job. Let me say this. Greg Sankey, you are doing your job for the SEC. You are the SEC commissioner. You are doing your job well with flying colors. Let's not get that twisted. You are doing what's right for the SEC. but you are not doing what's right for the game of college football. So, in my response to you, Greg Sankey, I would say this. Actually, you do need to be lectured on what's good for the game of college football. Actually, you do. Because when in any of these conversations have you had any respect for the group of six conferences? When? You don't. You can expand the field to 16 teams, 20 teams, 24 teams, 32 teams, and beyond. And the fact is, I've noticed a reoccurring theme here that the G6 conferences only get one spot. They only get one guaranteed spot in the field. I believe that's where it's going, and I don't believe that Greg Sankey has any respect or regard whatsoever for the group of six conferences. He doesn't care. And as an extension, he doesn't care about what's good for the game of college football. So if he ever says something like that, oh, he supports what's fair for everybody, he's lying. I believe when it comes to that, he's lying. He's only doing what's right for the SEC at the end of the day. So that's my opinion. I may be wrong about it, but I have a feeling I'm not when it comes to this. So, and really, it doesn't matter which model you go with, guys. It doesn't matter if you go with the 4-4-2-2-1-3 model or the 5-11. I truly believe that the Big Ten, the SEC, are going to do whatever they're going to do in order to screw things over, to mess things around so that it'll be in their favor. The real model that you got to be worried about, guys, is this: backstage politics plus money. That's the model you got to be worried about. So, yeah, it's like all these automatic qualifiers, all this talk about, oh, the SEC just deserves like half their conference to get into the tournament every single year. Cut that crap out. Okay. It was just proven by Bill Connolly right here in the article that, if you were to go to a 9-game schedule, you'd have more losses. And a lot of this prompted by the fact that, once again, Alabama missed out on the college football playoff. Oh, boo hoo, whatever. How about you don't lose to a 6-6 Vanderbilt team? How about you don't lose to a 6-6 Oklahoma team? And then we would not have be having this conversation about, oh, should Alabama have gotten in? Who cares? This is not always about Alabama. Do you guys understand? You know, really. And then in return, you want to reward third place, fourth place, fifth place, sixth place Big Ten SEC teams with automatic qualifiers with these play-in games, which is stupid in my opinion. On the surface, it's stupid. I know it makes you more money, but it's stupid when it comes to competitive fairness because there's no such thing as competitive fairness when you're doing this. I mean, you're rewarding automatic qualifiers to these teams that should have taken care of business in the regular season to begin with. But then you turn around and you look at a team in a group of six conference, like whether it's Conference USA or Mountain West Conference, Sun Belt Conference, any of those conferences. You turn around and look at those teams, like maybe let's say 11-2 group of six team that got to their respective conference championship game, and then for some reason they lost. Okay, 11-2. They were 11-1 regular season. They just happened to lose their conference championship game. Does that mean that they're no longer worthy of having even an at-large spot in the college football playoff? It doesn't make sense to me. None of this makes sense to me, and I know a lot of this, so much of this, is driven by money. But when you use a combination of backstage politics plus money to cloud your judgment about what's fair in a game that's supposed to be played on a field, you got issues. You have issues as a leader, you have issues as a commissioner, you have issues as a school president. If you can't see past your own egos, I'm going to say it. If you can't see past your own egos about what's fair, what's right for the game of college football as a whole, you should not be in your position. I'm just going to lay it out there for you guys. So really, all this talk about 4-4, 2-2, 1-3, or 5-11, who cares? I personally prefer 5-11 in and of itself, but I know that with different interpretations of that, because of the powers that be that run this game, it's not going to be fair. And that's the point that I'm trying to make. So, yeah, backstage politics can really hurt an organization. It can really hurt an organized sport. Just look at what you're seeing here. Just take a look at what is going on behind closed doors, if you can imagine it. Look at what's going on behind closed doors for all these meetings for the college football playoff, how it should be structured and governance. And we're not even done with the House settlement. Who knows when that's going to get done? It makes me laugh because all these people that are supposedly smart decision makers that are doing what's right for a game, it's so funny to me that these people cannot truly come together and do what's right, and that they cannot put aside their own egos in order to do that right thing. Just something for you guys to think about. Regardless of what format we're going to go with going forward in the college football playoff, as fans, we just have to keep going. We have to keep finding out the truth about these things. We have to find out the truth about what's going on with our respective conferences, what's going on with the governance of college football, college sports in general. We have to seek the truth as college football fans, as fans of sports in general. We have to seek the truth of things. And if we know what the truth is, whether we like it or not, if we know what the truth is, then we won't be caught off guard by stuff like this. That's all I got to say. Anyway, yeah, this is Stephen Vitt with another episode of Bobcat Corner. This was episode number 51. If you like what I do here on STV Castle in general, uh, please feel free to leave a like at the end of this video. Share this video with your friends and also other college football fans in general. Please make sure that this gets out to other people. And follow me on Instagram. I'm now on Instagram, STV Castle. It's stv.castle, by the way. Hope you guys have a good day and take care. I'll be back.